Welcome to the 31305 podcast, episode 31. Once again, brought to you by our proud sponsors at nobody.com, because again, we don't have any sponsors or endorsements. As
Not yet.
always, not yet, we're working on it. As always, my name is Alex, joined by my good buddy Taylor in Arizona. Doing a little bit late night podcast for me. It is about late afternoon for you.
Yeah, after work
Um,
podcast for me.
but we wanted to make sure that we caught all the trades are in for baseball. There's no more trickling in. There's about 45 minutes after the 6 p.m. Eastern trade deadline, so some trade rumblings going around. But all the trades are in from the chaotic day that was today. It'd be the main thing that we covered today, along with some NFL preview. And let's just get right into some of the biggest moves that we saw since our last episode on Thursday. So we'll start off with, once again, the Angels of LA. We talked about last week how they got Giolito from the White Sox. This week, or a couple of days ago, they got Randall Grichuk and CJ Cron from Colorado, giving up, I believe they've given up their number 3, 4, and 9 prospects in the moves. Do you think it's going to make a difference in their playoff hopes and keeping Otani?
Uh, I don't know what the Angels are doing. I think it's their 2, 3, and 7 prospects. We might both be wrong, but it's something.
Yeah.
It's two top 3 prospects for sure, and then another top 10.
Mhm.
I don't know what the fuck they're doing. CJ Crone is not a needle mover. Randall Grichuk is not a needle mover. I mean Giolito's good, but like, how far is this team out of the wild card still? I,
Oh, they're, I think, 5 games, I believe.
yeah, I was about to pull the standings up, but
I'll do
I
it.
I don't know. I mean, none of those are like big. Oh my god, that's gonna push us into the wild card. Like, there's two
Mhm.
depth pieces. Like CJ Crone, Tigers legend, played like 26 games until he broke his leg. So I don't know. That's not really a needle mover. I don't know what they're doing. We talked about it last week about what do they have to do to even keep Otani, and I don't even think winning the World Series keeps Otani. So
Mhm.
you've now gotten rid of your 2, 3, and another top 10 prospect for uh Lucas Giolito's, he's an expiring contract, right? He's not signed
Yes,
for next
yes.
year because I think Cease is the one that has
The
some
years of
years left.
control.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I don't know what LA's doing. This guy is gonna be, their GM's got to be fired if they don't win the World Series. I think even if they do, they've bundled this situation so bad, he's probably still on the hot seat.
Yeah, the Angels are 3 back of the wild card. They're 7-3 in their last 10. So they either think they can really catch Toronto or maybe even Houston with divisional games still to play. But again, this team does score runs, but they really suck pitching wise. I mean, they're in terms of all the wild card teams, they've allowed the second most runs. Well, actually, no, they've allowed the most runs of any wild card team that's in contention. The Mariners have allowed 440. Unless you want to count the Tigers, they've allowed 512, but they're 11 and a half back.
No, we're not talking
Yeah.
about them today.
So, so I think you're right. Like the offense wasn't really an issue. I mean, I'm guessing they're believing they can just out hit their opposition the rest of the season. But the real need was pitching. They got to hope Giolito stays healthy. Otani can continue his dominance on the mound and at the plate. I don't know if they're going to catch up to the Rangers or the Astros. We'll get to them in a minute. And we'll start off with the Rangers, who got Max Scherzer from the New York Mets. We debated last week about whether he was going to get dealt, and we both assumed no, the Mets are probably going to keep him, try it out again next year. No, they did a full fire sale, starting off with Max Scherzer from the Mets, and the Rangers also got Jordan Montgomery from the Cardinals. So one of the biggest struggles of the Rangers was pitching. They can hit for sure, but they shorted up really well with Max Scherzer, Jordan Montgomery. Nathan Eovaldi just went on the IL. This is a good piece for them to get deeper. I like the Rangers to go far in the playoffs
Oh
now. I don't know about
yeah.
you.
Oh, for sure. They've probably made the best moves. Them and the Astros. The AL West race to the end is going to be super interesting. But yeah, the top 3 going to the playoffs. If your top 3 is Max Scherzer, Jordan Montgomery, and Nathan Eovaldi, you're looking pretty good to take 2 of 3 from any team in the MLB right now. We know they can hit with Simeon, Corey Seager, Jonah Himes having a great year as a catcher. He's on the IL right now, but they picked up Austin Hedges too, I think, from Pittsburgh as a backup catcher now. So
They did. They did.
Texas, they've shown it. They're willing to empty the pocketbooks, blank checks for everybody. We saw it with DeGrom, we saw it with Simeon, we saw it with Seager, and now they're doing it at the trade deadline, bringing in everybody. They did give up their number 1 prospect, Luis Angel Acuna. Ronald Acuna it's his brother, right? Not cousin.
It's his younger brother, yeah,
Yeah,
in a Mets uniform.
yeah. crazy. So I think he's like the number 34 overall prospect, and I mean, yeah, you give that up, but your rotation. Imagine if they still had DeGrom on this team healthy, would have been elite, but obviously we won't see that. But yeah, this is definitely my favorite team in the East or in the AL right now. But I mean, Houston might be on their heels a little bit with their move that they made. But yeah, Mets fire sale. The Rangers took advantage of a lot of teams, especially the Cardinals fire sale that was kind of expected, but definitely made the moves at the deadline.
Yeah, I mean the Rangers this season and next season are in a great position to win the World Series. Like obviously Scherzer's older, going to turn 40 next season. I don't know if he's even going to pitch next year. DeGrom, you got to hope he comes back healthy next season. But
Well, he
this is
won't
a
even
team
be
that's
back.
met.
Degrom won't even be back next season. He had Tommy John, right?
Well, like towards the latter half, I think, because it's just under a year.
It's
So he
like
got hurt,
yeah,
like I think in May,
it's
so that'd be
usually
like
like it's
July.
like 18 months until you're fully back.
Yeah, maybe in the postseason next year.
Well, we'll see.
So yeah, but either way, like this team is set to win a World Series the next 2 years. I mean, they have 60 wins. Them and the Astros are a half game apart. So like you and I were just saying, their offense has not been an issue, and
No,
they just established the biggest weakness, which was pitching. So now you just got to see what they can do in the playoffs and actually making the playoffs because this team hasn't made the playoffs in a while since I believe the Cardinals were beating them up in the World Series a couple years ago.
yeah. So good for the Rangers. I don't have any beef with them. I don't think anyone really has like beef with the Rangers. So it'd be nice to see
Yeah.
them be the AL team to make the World Series. But just to touch on the Mets, they gave. I mean, and we'll talk about some more moves they made. But Max Scherzer ended up saying that he talked to ownership, and they said they're not going to be competitive again until 2026. So
What a message to leak on your way
what an
out.
exactly, but what a mess that the Mets are right now. You go all in, you bring in Verlander, you bring in Scherzer, you bring in Lindor, um, you have Pete Alonso, and you're saying that fuck it, guys, we're waiting until 2026 to be competitive. They they were like the opposite of the Rangers. And I guess they're kind of in the same boat as the Padres, opening up the checkbooks and just not doing anything with it, which just goes to show that you might spend the most money, but money doesn't always buy you a playoff berth.
It reminds me so much of the Marlins' first year being the Miami Marlins, moving to the new stadium, made a whole bunch of moves, got Jose Reyes, got Keith Bell, got so many great players, and Mark Burley. And then halfway through the year, they were sucking so much they sold everybody, and they're like, you know what? We fucked up. We're just gonna reset and rebuild for a couple of years down the line. And I feel like that's what the Mets have done now. I mean, not only did they get rid of Max Scherzer, they got rid of David Robertson going to the Marlins a couple of days ago. Mark Canha went to the Brewers, I believe, yesterday. He got dealt. But the biggest piece to get traded away from them was Justin Verlander. I mean, I thought they might trade away one of their starting aces, but they traded both. And Verlander goes to Houston. He, of course, had great success there. The city of Houston rejoices that Kate Upton is now back in the city of Houston, where they loved her, and of course her husband, the baseball player. So it's like you said, it's going to be a crazy divisional run to the end. Who do you think comes out on top between Houston and Texas?
I still have Texas. I think Max Scherzer is going to be great in the postseason. I think Montgomery was a great ad. I think their top three is probably one of the best in the league right now. They can hit with anyone. They're good defensively. It's just it's a fun team to watch. It's a good team. The Astros have been kind of like hit or miss. If Altuve and Alvarez aren't banging, then they're kind of just dead in the water. It seems like uh, Jeremy Pena's kind of been mid. Their rotation is pretty solid, but still kind of you kind of want to see more. Framber
Mm-hmm.
Valdez. What the hell's the other? Luis Garcia. No, not Luis Garcia.
Hunter Brown and Christian Javier, other starters.
Who else am I thinking of? His last name's the dude with the funky windup.
I don't know who it is,
I
but
can't remember.
it's
Someone
okay.
let us know. I can't think of it, but um, I don't know. I don't know what the how far ahead is are the Rangers right now?
Half
If
a
it's
game.
like, oh shit, that's it.
Yeah, it's half a game difference. That's what I'm saying.
It's actually going to be a really fun race to see who wins the AL West. I'm going to give it
Yeah.
to the Rangers just because I liked their moves a little bit more. But either way, hey,
Yeah. I mean,
maybe we'll see the Angels squeak in there. You know.
I mean, they're only six back, of the division.
But yeah, and then you got
But
the Mariners being sell off. So I mean, it's pretty much a two-man race.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, the Angels are only 4.5 back of Houston, five or 4.5 back of Texas, four back of Houston. So, but even again, which is crazy because they're a half a game ahead of Seattle, and Seattle sold. They traded
Yeah.
AJ Pollock to the Giants, but then Seattle's like, this isn't our year. But they're 7-3
Yeah.
in their last 10. They've had the same amount of success as the Angels, and the Angels decided, no, we're going to buy in, but obviously different
I,
reasons.
I don't
They're trying
really
to keep
get what
Otani.
Seattle was doing there.
Yeah. So we also had in the NL West a lot of moves, including your hometown team. I just mentioned AJ Pollock got sent to the Giants from Seattle. We had Scott Barlow, the Royals closer. He was really good 2 years ago. Last season, he's had another decent year this year. He goes to the Padres for essentially nothing. I mean, the Royals really sold well on Scott Barlow, so the Padres get a little bit better in the NL West. Arizona, your team, the D-backs. We've talked about it many a times. What's the one thing that they needed, Taylor, to be a contender in the playoffs?
Starting pitching and bullpen.
Pitching, right. And they got at least some bit in the bullpen. They got Paul Seward from Seattle. Is that how
Seawald.
you say his
Seawald.
name? Seawald?
Seawald.
Uh, Seawald. I misspelled it on the doc. But what do you make of their move to get a decent closer finally for their bullpen?
Thank God, finally. I think I mentioned it either last episode or 2 episodes ago that the Diamondbacks in save situations ERA is like over 10, which is abysmal. They've got three guys with 7+ saves, which you don't really want to see. I don't like the whole closer by committee bullshit. I think it's dumb. So I'm glad they finally got someone that can fill the actual closer role with Paul Sewald. He's got 21 or 22 saves on the year. Um, not a big velo guy. His fastball sits at 92, 93, but he's got a sweeper slider that works really well, and the fastball plays off that. So I'm glad. I'm happy they gave away Josh Rojas, Dominic Canzone, and Ryan Bliss. Auburn legend Ryan Bliss. Sad to see him go, but um, if you look at it, it's a win-win. They bring in pitching. Ryan Bliss was the number 29 prospect. Probably wasn't really ever going to make the team because you have Jordan Lawler coming up. You have Ketel Marte at second base, Geraldo Perdomo, and a couple of other guys on the pipeline ahead of him. Dominic Canzone wasn't going to get playing time in the outfield with Corbin Carroll, Alec Thomas, Jake McCarthy, Lourdes Gurriel, Dominic Fletcher all coming up. So those two, fine with leaving. Josh Rojas was just kind of meh this year. Has no home runs. He's the Tim Anderson of the Diamondbacks until Tim finally hit his first home runs. Congratulations to Tim Anderson for finally hitting a home run this year.
Sunday, I think, was the first.
Yeah,
Maybe Saturday, yeah.
I think it's a great move. They're going to get bullpen help. They'll finally not hopefully blow as many saves because I'm tired of watching. And well, I don't have to watch Andrew Chafin come
I
anymore
was
because
about to mention he got
we
traded
traded
too.
Andrew Chafin today, so I ain't got to watch him come in and blow saves anymore. I'll just have to watch Miguel Castro do it. But yeah, I think it's a good win. I don't know what the Mariners are doing. Like you said, they're still relatively in the playoff hunt. A couple of
Hmm.
games over 500. So now you've gotten rid of your closer. I guess they have what's his name, Munoz coming in out of the bullpen now, throws
Yeah.
hard. I guess they're banking on him to be their new closer, but I'm not a huge fan of the return. I feel like Paul Sewell, not thought of as an elite closer, but probably top 10 in the league. I mean, he's I think 11th in saves. He's a pretty steady arm in the pen, and he's controllable. He has arbitration next year, so he won't be a free agent until 25. So I don't know. Great move for Arizona. Just wish they kind of would have done more.
I mean, you're right. Like you said, it's good that they got Andrew Chafin out of there, and they got a reliever who's not even going to be in their bullpen, Peter
I'm not even gonna say it. I don't know how to say it either.
Strzelecki. I don't know, but he's being
Never heard
sent
of
down
him.
to the minors, and they're bringing up Joe Mattingly instead to be a bullpen piece. Like you
Joe
said, with
Manaply, the
yeah,
NL
man
All
apply.
Star from last year.
Yeah, so he's going to come
They're
up
gonna be good
instead.
on.
So, like you said, just a good shakeup that they needed. I think we've talked about it plenty of times. The D-backs bullpen's been the weakest link. And they also short their offense, and they get Tommy Pham as well, again from the Mets, right? Taken from their sell-off, essentially. Do you think? I think he's just going to be like a rotational piece for
Oh
what you guys. Yeah,
yeah,
he's not going to start every game.
no, he's definitely like a fourth or fifth outfielder because you're not starting him over Alec Thomas in center. You're not starting him over Corbin Carroll in left. I mean, he'll probably get starts at right field between him and Jake McCarthy, but
Yeah,
I don't know. It's more of a he's a right-handed bat that we need because all of our outfielders are left-handed except for Lourdes. So I don't know. Maybe matchup-wise he plays, but plays against lefties because they are terrible hitting lefties. So maybe he comes in against lefties and hits. but definitely not a starter. No, but they also didn't give up much. They gave up like a 17-year-old that I've also never heard of before. So
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, he's not having a great season. He's probably right around like a 0 WAR, but batting like 230, 240. Eh, that's not a needle mover for me at all. I would have rather have seen him go after a starting pitcher, but I guess any move is a good move for the Diamondbacks, who have been pretty shit in July. They had like the third worst record, so I guess they did something, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, post the All-Star break, you're looking at the D-backs, who I think were third in the National League overall
Yeah,
record-wise, and now they're third in the division. So, I
yeah,
mean, they're 3-7 in their last 10.
they were
Uh,
first
the
in the NL a month and a half ago.
Yeah, and then now they're just sliding back. They're completely dead even on run differential now. But I mean, the good thing is the Dodgers and Giants are also kind of playing badly, 4-6 in the last 10 each. So
Yeah, we're playing in a 4 game against the Giants right now, so
yeah, it's going to be a
that'll be
crazy
big.
series. Yeah, big series coming up. That division's going to come down to the wire between the Dodgers, Giants, D-backs, and even the Padres are only. I mean, they're 8.5 back of the Dodgers, but they're only 5 back of Arizona. So you never know. They decided also to go all in and acquire some pieces. We mentioned it earlier. So it'll be an interesting four-way, but mainly three-team sprint to the finish.
Yeah, the Padres have kind of signaled that they're gonna not go all in, but they're not selling. They kept Josh Hader, they kept Blake Snell, who were two pieces that could have been moved,
Hmm.
but they did not move them. The Padres must think they have a chance. They didn't bring anyone like huge in, just kind of some depth pieces. Unless I'm like completely forgetting a big move that
Oh,
happened.
they brought in the biggest piece of the trade deadline. They brought in Garrett Cooper from the Miami Marlins.
Oh
Garrett
yeah,
Cooper is now a Padre.
big move,
Garrett
big
Cooper got
move.
traded along with like our 20th prospect for Ryan Weathers, who was a top 8 pick, I believe, in 2019 as a starter. He hasn't really done much in the bigs, but now he's a part of the Marlins. So yeah, I mean, he's just going to play like rotational first base,
Yeah,
on that team. Speaking of Marlins, the Marlins, believe it or not, the Marlins have been buyers this trade deadline. I'm so happy. I don't care if the move was minimal. They got Jake Berger. They added burgers to the
the
menu.
Burger
They
Boy.
added the Burger Boy for Jake Etter, who was our probably best trade piece, number 4 overall prospect. He had Tommy John surgery last year. He's
You gave up your
24.
number 4 overall prospect for Jake fucking Burger?
He is our fourth prospect, but we also have, I think, 8 of our top 10 are pitchers, along with the fact that he had Tommy John surgery last year, and he's pitching decent this season. But Jake Berger's now a Marlin. He has team control until
What?
2028, and I mean he provides power that the Marlins need. I mean he's, believe it or not, he's tied for third in the American League, or he was in home runs.
Yeah, he's literally just Kyle Schwarber, but like worse. Actually,
That's fine.
I guess he's actually slightly better than Kyle
Yeah,
Schwarber.
the Marlins need that. We're last in home runs in the bigs
I
behind the
mean, yeah,
A's.
he's got 25 home runs, but he's batting 214. So
He is the opposite of Luis Ariz. He is the exact
yeah,
compliment we
yeah,
need.
he actually is.
So it's
I don't know.
perfect.
Giving up your number 4 prospect for a guy batting 214 is pretty crazy, though. But
Yeah, but he's still young. He's 27. He's under team control for 5 more seasons, whereas Jake Etter may never even crack our rotation with the pitchers that we have and are coming up. They also acquired Josh Bell from the
yeah,
Cleveland Guardians.
that's another huge addition.
Well, I mean, the fact that we got our Gene Segura's contract is
Yeah,
already a
addition
win.
by subtraction.
Yeah, and we traded
Big
Khalil
win.
Watson, who was like apparently a top prospect when he came out of the draft. He was our number 3 prospect when we drafted him. Now he's down to 17 because he just has been crap and threatening to shoot an umpire with a baseball bat 2 years ago.
Honestly,
So
hilarious move. Everyone
yeah,
feels it. I'm glad. Good for him for finally doing something.
yeah,
Everyone's always wanted to say something to umpires, and he did it. So you know what? Kudos
yep.
to him.
But yeah, so Marlins are actually moving up in the wild card. They're actually winning 1-0 against Philly, but it's down to the ninth inning. Let's see if David Robinson can actually do something for them. And like the NL wild card is like an entire clusterfuck. Like
Oh
there's
yeah,
5 teams that are either tied for the last playoff spot or in the playoffs right now.
yeah.
And that doesn't include the Cubs, who are 3.5 back, made moves to get in it, and the Cubs, or the Padres, sorry, who are 5 back. So there's going to be a lot of teams fighting for these last wild card spots. So it'll be exciting to see what happens towards the end of the season. one of the teams that everyone was rumored to be selling actually ended up adding at the deadline. There's a lot of rumors that Marcus Stroman could be traded from Chicago. You had Corey Bellinger getting traded, but instead they flipped because they went well the last 10 games. And now they landed Heimer Candelario from the Nationals on the last year of his deal. Eh, I don't think the
Eh,
Cubs are a threat. Like,
no,
I mean, they're 8-2 in their last 10. They lost two straight. I don't know. Nothing
eh,
about this Cubs team has sold me on, wow, they're going to really kill it. In their last
no,
10 games, they beat the Cardinals and the White Sox in three series. Those are the teams that they went 8-2 against. So
no.
you can only take so much from that.
Yeah, no, and I mean they already had Jamer Candelario because he was a Cub, then he was a Tiger, then a Nat, and now back to a Cub. So maybe in 2 years we'll see Jamer Candelario back in
Detroit.
Comerica Park. Yeah, but I mean after I don't know why everyone was hyping him up after watching him in Detroit for 4 years. This dude is not like he's not anything special. He's having a good year
Hmm.
on a bad. He's having an okay year on a bad team. I don't
Yeah.
get it. I don't know.
I,
He's
I think just expiring contract and hitting for
yeah.
power is probably what it
I,
is.
I guess I don't know what the Cubs are doing. I don't think they're really a threat. Like you said, the teams that they've beaten have been the Cardinals, the White Sox, and the Cardinals and the Nationals.
Yeah.
But when they play like actual good teams, they beat they split the Brewers too. But I don't know. It's not like a needle mover for me either. I think they're losing. They lost to the Reds yesterday. They're playing the Reds right now. I don't know what the score of that game is, but again, it doesn't move the needle for me. Actually, they are currently beating the
They're winning
Mets
7-2. I saw.
seven
Yeah.
to two in the third inning. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Maybe they
Maybe.
are a threat, and the Mets are winning. So everything's flipped on its head today.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't see him making a wild card. The 3.5 out. Stroman's kind of been getting smacked around his last 3 or 4 starts at this point. So
Hmm.
I don't know. Maybe he just wanted to kill his trade value to stay in Chicago for a playoff run, and now he's going to go lights out the next like 7 starts. But I don't
Right.
see it.
But to me, like their schedule since the All-Star break has been Boston, Washington, St. Louis for four, Chicago, St. Louis for four. Now they start playing Cincinnati, Atlanta, the Mets, the Blue Jays. Like those are
Yeah,
actually teams that if you said they were winning against, okay, I'd believe you.
they're about to get a hard dose of like reality right there. And if you had flipped the schedule and they played all of these teams before the trade deadline, they're absolutely sellers. But
Yeah.
they got a nice run of bad teams, kind of some false hope, and now they're buying instead of selling. So I have a feeling we'll be seeing the Cubs in not in the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll see. We also had talking about another wild card team. It's the Philadelphia Phillies who have just tied the game against the Marlins, and now I'm upset because they
Ah,
just
did Robertson blow the save in his first
Yep,
appearance?
Bryce Harper hit an RBI double in the
No.
ninth inning, so it's 1-1. After Sandy
Oh
went eight
man.
innings of four hit ball, and he was doing great. Yep,
Some
Robinson
things
allowed.
some things never change.
Right, you can't escape being a Marlin. But we had the Phillies who are going to add your Detroit Tigers All-Star Lorenzen, starter. He was rumored to be going to a lot of different teams. He ends up in Philadelphia. It was rumored the Cubs, the Marlins, the Dodgers, the Astros were rumored to get him. But I mean, you at least got a decent haul. I can't pronounce his name. He's the number five prospect. He's the number five prospect that the Phillies had. I think it's How You Lee.
How you Lee? Yeah, probably
How You Lee,
second
second
base.
baseman, I believe.
Plays second base. I mean, getting a number 5 prospect from Michael Lorenzen, who you didn't have last year and you weren't going to have next year. I
Yeah,
feel like it's a pretty solid flip. I mean, the Tigers have been in the perpetual rebuild since when did they lose the World Series?
2012,
2014,
11.
2014, 2012, somewhere in there. They lost to the Giants and the Cardinals at some point, but
Oh, yeah, it's true.
I think the Cardinals was like it might have been way before. I'm not good with years, but yeah, I mean flipping essentially a rental for a number 5 prospect, I'll take. Obviously, the Tigers kind of fucked this one up, and we could talk about guys not traded that were a surprise, and I think number 1 on the list is going to be Eduardo Rodriguez not being traded by the Tigers.
No,
He
he
was heavy.
was. He was.
Yeah, you're right.
He
It was
was
agreed
traded.
upon, and he did have a no trade clause, and he decided to waive his no trade clause to the Dodgers, um, to stay in Detroit. I can go on a 5-minute rant here.
as
Ah,
there's a drive to left field and Castellanos takes it yard, and the
yeah.
Phillies are winning 3-1
No.
against the Marlins. Perfect timing.
Oh my
He
God!
just took
Live
he
on
took
air,
Roberts.
Alex mental breakdown.
He took Robertson deep, and Castellanos has interrupted. It's plenty of broadcasts with a
Uh,
home run, so I
yeah.
figured throw it in here. But no, you're right. The
Yeah.
Tigers have been stuck in a rebuild for it seems since I've met you, essentially.
I actually don't think
So
the Tigers have ever been good since I've known you.
yeah,
Holy
2012 was when they
shit!
made the
And
World Series
we
against
have
the
known each other
Yankees.
for a while, my friend, and the Tigers have not been good in any of those years.
You could have been the GM of the Tigers and done better than they have in the last 10 years.
So I don't know what happened with this. Eduardo Rodriguez, the Tigers and the Dodgers had a deal. We're not going to know probably for a while who was on the Dodgers side of the deal, but it was agreed upon. And Eduardo Rodriguez decided to enact his no trade clause to the Dodgers. He is now going to stay a Tiger. And what I have a problem with here is that this man went AWOL last year for 3 months. Didn't tell the team anything. He was just gone. Didn't know why. Wasn't pitching, wasn't playing, didn't report, was gone for 3 months. Nobody knew why. Rumors were divorce and family issues. Um, so you would think the least he would do is, yeah, I kind of fucked you guys over. I'll waive my no trade clause, get you guys some good prospects back because the Dodgers have a lot of good prospects. They have a deep prospect pool. So you would have thought, you know what? Bygones be bygones. I fucked you. I'll bring you some prospects back. He decides to waive it. He said he wants to be closer to his family in Venezuela. He wants to stay on the East Coast, I guess. But at the same time, you're a free agent at the end of the year. You don't have to stay with the Dodgers, and the Dodgers are probably going to make the playoffs and make a deep run. So he's going to be stuck in Detroit pitching in meaningless games that don't matter. Which let's be honest here, Michigan is up north. If you're looking at a map, it's at the top. Venezuela is down here. It's at the bottom of the map, so you're still not close anyway. I don't get the thinking. I somebody said send him to the A's at this point, and I was like, shit. Honestly, to prove a point, I am fine sending him to the A's. I don't know why you just declined to go to the Dodgers. If it was like declining to go to the Padres or who else is a shit team out there, uh, any other actually every team on the West is kind of like not terrible.
The
Um,
Rockies.
the Rockies, yeah, there you go. Who wants
There
to
you
pitch
go.
at fucking Coors Field? I get
Right.
it if you waive it for that, but like waiving it for the Dodgers, who are World Series favorites, like what are you doing? This is like
Yeah.
career suicide.
Apparently, he has family on the East Coast of the United States, not just in his home country.
Okay,
And
but
and there was a fake rumor saying that his wife was a Padres fan and he couldn't stand going to the Dodgers, which I think that's just fake on Twitter. But yeah, it's weird. I mean, that's why you have a no trade clause with those teams on it, and the Dodgers are one of those 10 teams, and the player has to approve of them to be traded. Obviously, you had Verlander and Scherzer who had that in their contracts, much better pitchers, but they even chose to decline it for the team and for themselves. But yeah, I don't know why Rodriguez said no. I mean, I know we kind of discussed why, but for a team's sake and for player personnel, why pitch for Detroit? No offense, then we can go pitch for a
oh no,
playoff
none
team.
taken.
Yeah. So I
Yeah,
don't know. The Tigers have to hold on to him, and unfortunately, not get more value than they wish they did.
but like at the same time, why was there no backup plan?
Right.
Why was Eduardo Rodriguez? Why is he still on this team? Why? Okay, you have a deal with the Dodgers. If he approves it, that's great. If not, you should have had a backup plan. The Orioles were an option. The Reds were an option. Hell, anybody in the AL on the East Coast was an option. I don't. Well, I guess and the NL, but anyone on
I'm
the East
sure.
Coast, I don't get
I'm
it.
sure it was just that they didn't want to send, like, they didn't like the prospect package that was sent to them.
But
I
who
think that's what
cares?
it
Who cares
was.
what? But you're losing Eduardo Rodriguez at the end of the year anyway. I'm
No,
sending
you're
him
right.
to the. I'm sending him to the Orioles for one of their 9 top 100 prospects, and I'm calling it a day. If the Dodger deal falls through in the last hour, you're getting something from someone. It was an absolute debacle by Scott Harris. Didn't even the president of operations didn't hire a GM. He's doing everything himself. Uh, not a fan of him after this. The Tigers absolutely lost the trade deadline. I don't know what they were doing with Eduardo Rodriguez.
Yeah. I don't think there's many other major moves unless I've missed a big one. I'm looking at the trade deadline starts now. Like we said, we
It's
cover. I mean, the
pretty
Red
late
Sox
getting.
got. The Red Sox got Luis Urias, which isn't a crazy one. The Yankees got a reliever from the White Sox. Um, yeah, not like you said before we started recording. Not a huge name on the position player side got moved. Pitchers got moved for sure, but not many crazy ones. I mean, Paul DeJong got traded to the Cardinals, or from the Cardinals to the Blue Jays, which
Yeah, to shore
again
up
will,
the Bo Bichette. We don't know what the injury status is with Bichette yet, but doesn't seem very good. So
yeah.
Paul DeYoung's going to come in and play short for him and be good defensively. Maybe not make up for the bat, but pretty solid. But there was a bunch of guys that didn't get moved. No Dylan Cease. Obviously, we didn't
hmm
see Shohei get traded. We didn't see Stroman get traded. No Hader. What do you think about the guys not being moved on teams that probably won't make the playoffs?
It's because the teams have the false sense. Like with the third wild card spot, I think it makes it so it's like in basketball, right? So many teams think they're in it and they think that they can get over the hump. But a lot of these teams have just been inconsistent throughout the year, including the Marlins, as we're seeing, and the Phillies, who are winning right now. Like, no team has been truly super consistent most of the season. But for a team like the Angels or a team like the Cubs and the Padres to decide after like 2 weeks of somewhat successful baseball that now they're going to be a playoff team is weird. Or that, oh, they were just one or two moves away from being a playoff team is crazy to me. But I think for the teams that aren't in the playoffs, they tried their best to get value. Look at the White Sox, right? Look at the Royals. They made moves to actually get some pieces for down the line. The Athletics didn't have anybody necessarily to trade. They made one move to acquire talent, but I think there was just a lot of teams that believe they're somewhat in it and were ready to make like little pieces, and they assume those little moves they make are going to spring them ahead of everybody else. So a lot of false hope, I think, going around baseball.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is. But definitely kind of a pretty lackluster trade deadline. Like, yeah, you had big names moved, but Scherzer and Verlander are up there in age. I think it's funny that the Astros got more for a 40-year-old, or the what am I thinking
The
of?
Mets.
The Mets got more for a 40-year-old Justin Verlander than the Tigers did for an in the prime Justin Verlander when they traded him. So that just shows how bad Detroit has been. That the Astros can
Yep.
give up quite literally more for a 40-year-old. The Mets, the Tigers just piss me off. I'm tired of them. Fuck them.
Understandably. I mean, again, this organization hasn't done much to instill confidence in their
No,
fans.
no. The only thing we have to look forward to this year is Miggy's retirement tour, and that hasn't even gone well.
I mean, he had a good series against the Marlins. We gave him a cigar holder.
Whoop de fucking do.
Uh, I think that's it for baseball trade deadline. I mean, again, like you said, not many huge pieces got moved. The craziest part is there's no good free agents outside of Otani, obviously, who's gonna be the biggest piece. But like, I looked at the trade deadline or the free agent class for this upcoming season. There's not many good names. So I think, if anything, there might be more trades in the offseason of people trying to acquire talent. But outside of Otani, you have like Ahmed Rosario, you have Giolito, obviously, right? But there's not that many great names that are in the offseason for free agents.
No, not really. So we'll see what ends up coming out of. There's got to be some more trades coming towards the offseason because the Otani bidding war is going to be probably dominating the headlines for the entirety of the offseason.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
but yeah, I'm looking through it. Like Joey Votto, probably not going to get
Jesus.
provide you much. Like Whit Merrifield, your boy
hmm
John Birdie,
Yeah, John Birdie.
Matt Chapman is a free agent. That'll be a big one.
hmm
Eduardo Escobar, Javier
But like none of these
Baez has an opt out, but he's not
Javi
opting out of
Baez
it.
does. I was
He
going to
has an
mention that.
yeah, he is absolutely not opting out of this contract. There is not a chance.
Yeah, he's a Tiger for life.
Yeah, I
He's one of
know.
those loyal players that you just really don't want to root for.
There's a lot of pitchers that are free agents. Clayton Kershaw, but he'll probably I think he's a Dodger for life. Aaron
Yeah,
Nola, Blake Snell, Julio Urias, Giolito, Sonny Gray, Stroman. A lot of pretty solid pitching options, but
yeah, but
yeah,
not many position players. That's what I'm saying.
it'll be dominated by who is Otani going to.
Oh, for sure. I think moving on from the baseball discussion, we go into our NFL preview.
Yes,
And this
sir.
week, I decided the division, and to make you feel better, I did the North. because for the first time in a long time, the Lions have a hopeful season upcoming. They were hopeful last year, Lions fans were, but now they actually have a decent chance of winning the division. Take me through what Detroit's done in the offseason and what you expect of their season coming up.
So, hot take: the Detroit Lions draft was good. People hated on the Jameer Gibbs pick. I think it's going to be a great pick. People hated on the Jack Campbell pick. I think it's going to be a great pick. People, I wouldn't say hated on the Sam Laporta, but now that's coming important because they lost Shane Zylstra for the rest of the year. They waived him. So
Yeah.
that's going to turn out to be a great pick, I think. Sam Laporta is going to get pretty much all the playing time at tight end this year. I think they're going to be good. I think they're going to win this division. You lose Jamal Williams, who led the league in touchdowns last year and broke Barry Sanders' single season record.
Hmm.
Kind of pissed off that he did that and then dips the next year. But I don't. I think this team's going to be really good. I'm trying to pull their schedule up, but my computer is being like really shitty right now.
Well, you
Um,
know who they play to lead the season.
I sure
They
do.
open the
I sure
season
do.
up against the Kansas City Chiefs. I haven't been more excited to watch a Lions game in years. I,
It's going to be fun. I'm actually
I
excited for
really
it.
hope the Lions win. I really hope the Lions win. It'd be such
I
an
think they.
upset.
I unbiased. I think they do.
I'm biased.
I think
Um,
they.
I,
I think they go to Arrowhead and win.
all right, I have a Lions schedule if you need it.
I'm pulling it up right now. My computer. I'm. This is on an 8-year-old MacBook Air, so we do what we can with this. Okay.
Yeah, no. After playing Kansas City, they host Seattle and then Atlanta. Those are two winnable games,
Two winnable games.
right?
Yeah.
Then they go to Green Bay.
Winnable.
They host the Panthers,
Winnable.
and they go to Tampa.
Winnable.
So those first 7 games, 6 games, are really winnable games by Detroit. I mean, their schedule definitely
Absolutely.
gets a little bit tougher after, but
I mean, even
you,
after that, it's really not that bad. I don't think.
yeah, you've got at Baltimore, which is
That's
winnable, but it's
it's
harder.
winnable, but it's hard. Yeah.
Yeah, they host the Raiders, which is a winnable game.
Winnable,
They go to the LA Chargers, which again, winnable, but
but
probably
difficult.
tougher.
Yeah.
You're right. Host the Bears, host the Packers. They'll
More
probably
winnable.
lose one of those, just
I
in
don't know.
general,
They're both at home. I don't think they lose to that one. I think they might lose at Chicago. That
or
might
to the
be.
earlier game against the Packers on Thursday Night Football in
I
Green
don't.
Bay.
I don't think they go like 3-3 in the division. I think they go like 4-2, lose one to the Vikings, and then one to either Chicago or Green Bay.
That's what I'm at. Yeah, like 4-2.
Yeah.
Then they travel to the Saints.
Winnable.
They travel to Chicago. They host Denver.
Winnable.
They go to Minnesota.
I think they lose that one.
They go to Dallas,
Winnable.
and then they host the Vikings. The Vikings are their 2 of their last 3 games, which is crazy.
Yeah. I on that schedule, there's 4 games, and I'm like, they'll probably lose.
Which
There's
is
a two
crazy to
team.
think.
Yeah,
Which is
exactly.
crazy to think. Like their schedule is probably one of the after looking at it, it's one of the easiest in the
It's
NFL.
easy. Oh, it's easy as fuck.
Yeah, because they play what the AFC West, which obviously I mean they have the Chiefs, they have the Chargers, who are tough.
Yeah.
They have Denver, who might be better, but they get them at home. They play the NFC South. Yeah, they play the NFC
Yeah.
South, who's a really weak division, right? Seahawks, Panthers, Bucks, and Saints. And then they're playing like they're similar ranked people, so they play against
The
the
Falcons, the
Raiders.
Raiders.
Yeah, they play the South and the West, and then
Yeah.
they play against Seattle, who they finish with the same record as, and Tampa Bay, or the
Dude,
standings wise.
I'm telling you, dude, this is I think this is the year. They make the playoffs, they win the division. There is nothing on that schedule that screams like terrifying. There's no like 3 game stretch where they're all against, really good competition. They don't even have a 2 game stretch. There is no game on that schedule that is back to back other than maybe the Vikings and the Cowboys at the
I'd
very
say
end.
the last three are the toughest, or maybe even last 4, but I'd
But
say that's the edge.
yeah, but in front of that, there's nothing on there that's like, wow, back to back games is going to be tough other than maybe the last 3.
Yeah, the Lions should get off to a good start. They should get off to a good start this year. I like you. I like Detroit. I think they win the division. Give me 12-5. I think they lose an extra game that they'll lose one extra divisional game, or they'll lose a game to like the Saints when they shouldn't, or to the Bucks when they
Yeah.
shouldn't. But give me
I
12 and
think
5 for the Lions.
yeah, I think they win 13.
You like 13-4?
I like 13-4. Oh, I got to pull up the odds to see how close we are. Let's see.
Yeah, I do not have the
I
odds on. I swear. Last
I think it's
episode, I was
11.
psychic.
I think it's either 10 or 11 for the Lions. I think they go over that. After
Yeah,
looking at the schedule and seeing how they've been doing, Jameer Gibbs has been great in training camp. I
and David
absolutely
Montgomery as the
yeah,
complimentary running back too.
I absolutely love Detroit. over. Let's see what they have. They have Detroit at over 9.5. I'm hammering that.
Yeah, you
Over
got
nine
to
and a
do the
half is a
over.
lock.
Yeah,
They are winning
for
4
sure.
more games.
It's like when we
Who do you say?
hammered the under for the Patriots
Oh, so
last
I
episode.
guess last time I said I think this team makes the playoffs. I think they lose to Philly in like the um oh my
Conference
god.
championship,
No, before that, the divisional.
divisional.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think they lose to Philly in the divisional, but I think they win a wild card game. I think they're probably going to be I'd say a 3 seed.
yeah,
I
because
think
they're
they'll
going to
be
be better than the NFC South winner.
yeah, I think they'll be a 3 seed, but they won't be better than like the Niners, who I think will win the West, and they won't be better than the Eagles. But they'll be a 3 seed. They'll play what the how does it work? They'll play the 6 seed. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, looking at it, who do you think the 6 seed is going to be in the West or in the NFC? Like
NFC. I mean, you're looking at either a Seattle or a Dallas if they don't win the division,
I
maybe
think
a
they,
Giants. Like the NFC
I
isn't crazy stacked,
yeah,
so
and you're hosting if you win the division. So I'm absolutely thinking
what if it's against the Rams and
that would
Matthew
be
Stafford has to play a game in Detroit
that would actually be
for the
wild. But
playoffs?
the Rams aren't winning more than 4 games this year, so that is not going to happen.
Okay, I just wanted to bring it up.
But yeah, I say 13-4. They win a wild card game, but they lose to Philly.
Next, we have the honestly one of the most disappointing off seasons. We have the Minnesota Vikings. They drafted Jordan Addison, who was cited going 135 miles an hour in a 45-mile-an-hour zone, apparently to take care of his emergency with his dog.
Man,
Interesting choice.
hey! At
Um,
least he didn't kill anyone like Henry Ruggs did. So
that is very true. They also drafted Mekhi Blackman from USC, Jay Ward and Jaquelin Roy from LSU. They lost Dalvin Cook. They cut Dalvin Cook for money reasons, so they're relying on Alexander Madison to be their lead running back. The Vikings were very good last season and in very close games. Obviously, we had the thriller
mm,
they did in Buffalo, right?
they were good in close games. They won like what 12 one-score games or whatever.
That's what I'm saying. They were really good in close
It was a
games.
lot. Yeah, they
I
were
don't think
lucky, and
that,
I called it. I
yeah,
said that they were overrated.
I don't think that luck continues. I think they are still debatably the second best team in the division. So I'm going to give them 10 wins, 10-7. I think that's reasonable. Justin Jefferson is still a beast. Kirk Cousins is still good enough to win you a couple of football games, not, of course, to be anything crazy. They did just re sign Daniel Hunter, I believe it's who it was.
Yeah,
So they signed him for another 1 year deal. But again, I think the Vikings are just going to be a little bit worse than last season. Not anything crazy. I still think they're going to be decent, but not better than the Lions.
yeah, and schedule wise, they have a really tough schedule. I think they open the season with Tampa, that's a win, but then they follow it up with at Philly and home against LA, the Chargers. Um, Go to Carolina, that's a win, but then you host the Chiefs, you're not winning that. You go to Chicago, I don't know, they might not beat Chicago in October. You
Mm-hmm.
host the Niners, you're probably not winning that. You're in Lambeau the week after that. I don't know if they win that. Then you follow it up with at Atlanta, home against New Orleans, at Denver, home
Denver. Mm-hmm.
against Chicago, and then at Raiders. So that 5 game stretch I think is definitely winnable. If they win 4 out of that, they're good. But then the end of the season is at Cincinnati, home against the Lions, home against the Packers, and home against or at Detroit. So looking at it, I see like 7 losses. So I'd say like 10-7. Yeah.
Yeah, same thing I
Yeah.
did. Yeah, like I
Let's see
said,
how close we were.
it's going to be like 10.5
It
for
was
the
eight
over
and a
under.
half. It was 8.5. So
Okay, that's pretty
we're
fair.
still giving them. I have we hit it under yet, or we've been over on like every team.
No, the Patriots we were definitely under.
Okay.
The Patriots we were definitely under.
I don't
Um,
know. The Vikings return. I mean, they lost Dalvin Cook, but I think Alexander Madison is a solid backup option. That 5 game stretch where they're going to be able to win 4, I think is going to be good because all you got to do is win another 5 games somewhere in the season, and I
yeah.
think that's doable. I don't think this is a playoff team.
No, I
I
think they just
guess
miss out.
no. With 10 wins, you're in with 10. I think they'll be like
No,
the.
you
Eh,
could win 10 games and not get in.
I think winning 10 this year is. I think that'll be enough. I think they'll squeak in as like the 6 or 7 seed. Because I mean, if you look at it,
Yeah.
Philly probably gets in. The Cowboys and Giants maybe. Um, and then out the west. I guess out west is probably only 2. So I don't know. Maybe 10 is enough. Maybe it's not. I don't know. We'll see. But
It's going to be
I'll,
close because remember the NFC is also weak, right, compared to last year.
yeah, I don't
Um,
know every team's schedule off the top of my head, but I'd give them like
yeah,
10-7, 9-8. They'll be fighting for a wild card. They might make it. They might not. May
yeah.
not.
One of the reasons why the NFC is weaker is because we had the departure of Ron discount double check is no
Yes,
longer a part of the
sir.
green and yellow. He's on or green and gold, whatever they call him. He is no longer part of the Packers. He has moved east to New York. So the Packers are left with Jordan Love out of Utah State to finally be their quarterback. Apparently, he's doing decent in training camp. They're never going to discount their replacement for Aaron Rodgers, obviously. So they're going to say he's doing good regardless.
They did
I mean,
draft his
this team,
backup though,
who?
Sean Clifford out of Penn State, the guy that's been there for
Oh
maybe
my
15
gosh.
years.
Yeah, yeah. I was about to say, who's the backup?
Yeah, Sean
Um,
Clifford was at Penn State for at least 17 years.
the Packers are going to have a very similar schedule to the Lions and Vikings, obviously, because they're in the same division. So they're playing against the NFC South. They play against the Giants. They play against the Chiefs. They've got the Rams. They've got the Steelers. Obviously, the Vikings, Bears, and Lions. I think this team's going to go 9-8. I mean, Jordan Love is. I think Jordan Love is probably going to have a decent season. Jair Alexander is a really good corner. Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon are a very good backcourt, but I know they've gotten their wide receivers developing a little bit better, but nothing about this team scares me. Unless Jordan Love has a way better first season as the starter than I think he's going to have, but I think 9-8 is what I'm dealing for this Green Bay Packers team.
I think they lose 6 of their first 8 games.
Oh, you're going worse. You're going
Oh,
way worse.
I think this team wins 4 or 5 games this year.
Wow. Okay.
I am not high on this Packers team. I don't know. We don't know what they have in Jordan Love, which I guess is the big unknown variable, kind of what with Washington has
Yeah.
with Sam Howell. I'm just not big on it. Like they start out with at Chicago. I mean, I'm not huge on Chicago, but I feel like Chicago and Green Bay are probably on like the same talent level
Terms.
right now.
Yeah.
So starting your season at Chicago, I think that's probably a loss. You go to at Atlanta. I think Atlanta could be like a frisky, nice little team that makes a couple upsets. Desmond Ritter in his second year. You're gonna get Bijan Robinson. I think they're an interesting team that wins a few games. I think they absolutely could lose at Atlanta. I think they lose to the Saints. I think they lose to the Lions. They probably beat, at Vegas, and they'll probably beat the Rams. But other than that, I'm not high on this team at all. I think they win 4 or 5 games. And
What's
like,
the over under on Green Bay? What's
call
the
me
over
crazy.
under on
I'm
Green Bay?
I'm taking the under on Green Bay for sure. Let's see what it is.
I'm going to say it's eight
I'm just
games or nine.
It's 7.5. I'm taking 5.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So you're going to hammer the
I
under
just
for the Packers.
I maybe it's just my internal like Packers hatred, but I just don't see
Yeah.
this team. I don't see them winning 7 games. I see them winning 5.
Yeah.
We just don't know what
Um,
they have in Jordan Love. Jordan Love can come out and break the interception record. Like we just don't know
yeah.
what Jordan Love has. I mean, obviously their run game with Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon is good, but they're just I don't know. They're not good. I mean, especially how they lost last year. Like you lose to I'm not your biggest rival, but like you lose to a division foe, the Lions, who have nothing to play for other than to beat you, and you come out and shit the bed. So I don't know. Seeing that kind of just has turned me off to the Packers. I feel like they're just dead in the water. They didn't really add anything.
hmm
I'm not. They're winning 5 games.
All right. I can't wait to hear how you feel about the Chicago Bears. We're definitely projected to be worse.
Yeah.
I mean, this team, of course, traded out of the number one overall pick. They acquired DJ Moore in a trade with Carolina. So Carolina got Bryce Young. They got a lot of trade assets as well, or draft prospects, should I say, in the process. I mean, they got Darnell Wright to be the new protector of Justin Fields. They got Gervin Dexter, Tyreek Stevenson. They lost David Montgomery in the offseason, so their main running back is going to be Khalil Herbert, I believe.
Yeah.
But their main running back is really Justin Fields. I think
Yeah.
I think this team wins 6 or 7. I think they have a really bad, like easy schedule. Like besides the teams we've already discussed in the NFC South and the AFC West, they play the Commanders, right? They play the
Cardinals.
Browns. They
They put
they
the
play the
Cardinals.
Cardinals at home. They play the Falcons at home. Like there's not a crazy tough games. Obviously, they play Kansas City on the road, which is going to be a loss. Like they play the Vikings at home, they play the Lions at home. Those are probably losses. The Browns on the road, but I don't know. I think they just squeak out 7 wins. I think Justin Fields does have a better season throwing the ball than he did last year. Now he actually has somebody decent to throw it to. But I mean, for fantasy purposes, he's gonna be great. But I would say give me 6 wins. Give me 6-11. It's a step up from last year when they were the worst team in football. So,
I think they're on the same level as the Packers. I think they also win 5 games. They're not
mhm.
good. Justin Fields is a great. You're right. He's a great runner, but we don't know. I mean, they got DJ Moore, but we don't know what we have in a quarterback with Justin Fields yet. I think 5 games is fair. I mean, they're not going to beat a lot of teams. I mean, they'll beat the Cardinals because the Cardinals might not win a game all year. They'll beat Washington. They'll probably play a good game against the Raiders, but I mean, other than that, there's nothing on there that's screaming they are inherently the better team than anyone. I think they win week
Mhm.
1 against the Packers, but I don't know. They didn't add anything. They lost. I mean, they added DJ Moore, but you lose David Montgomery, so that's kind of a wash.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. They had the 32nd. They had the worst passing team. They were the worst passing team in the league last year and the best rushing. You lose your best running back, not named Justin Fields. Their defense was terrible. They had the worst defense. They gave up 27 points a game, and I mean, it's not like they brought anyone in that's going to really change that right away. I feel like,
hmm
um, so I don't know. 5 wins seems fair. I honestly over under is probably we might be over on the Bears.
They might be at like 5. I would say 5 being the over under.
Oh, not a chance. The over under 7.5. No,
No, you take the under. I
no.
mean,
I'm
I predicted
taking.
7 wins.
Yeah,
Or I predicted 6.
I'm taking
Yeah.
the under. They're winning 5 or 6 games this year. They're not
Yeah.
winning 8 games.
No, no way.
There's not 5 games on their schedule that you can say they are inherently better than. I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean,
I mean, the
maybe at
Commanders maybe,
Tampa,
but yeah, Commanders,
Tampa,
Tampa, and Cardinals.
at Washington, and then the Cards. But the Panthers, I think they might be able to beat the Panthers too. But that's 4.
Yeah.
I don't know. Vegas on some crack with that one.
We're gonna go from one running quarterback to another, one who got paid, rightfully so, in my opinion. Lamar Jackson, the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, Lamar Jackson has not been to a conference championship game yet. I think he finally won their first playoff game with him last year, right? Or maybe the year before. But their biggest addition was Odell Beckham Jr. is the number one wide receiver. They drafted Zay Flowers out of Boston College, who they really liked. So they've shored up their wide receiver room a little bit. Um, this division is going to be very entertaining. I think this is going to be one of the closest divisions in football because
Oh
one
yeah.
through four are honestly not too far away from each other. So I'm going to say for the Ravens, give me 10-7. I think they have a good team. They're well coached, but I don't know if they're good enough to win the division over the Bengals or Browns. Yeah, give me 10-7 for the Ravens. I hope they do better, but I'm going to say 10-7 with their schedule.
Just looking at their schedule really quick, I mean they're gonna beat the Texans, they're gonna beat the Colts. They'll probably win one against the Browns. They'll win one against the Steelers. I think they beat the Titans. They beat the Cards, and they beat the Rams. Other than that, those are the 7 I think they absolutely could beat. I'd probably
Yeah,
take I'd take 9 or 10. I don't think they're going to be good enough to win the division. I think the Browns are going to take a big step up. I think the Steelers are still going to be the worst team, but they won't be pushovers. I'd take 9 wins for the Ravens. I mean, they got OBJ, but OBJ is kind of like the Kyrie of football. Like you never know what you're going to get with Odell Beckham. I mean, I guess it's better
yeah,
than Antonio Brown, but I mean,
yeah,
Odell Beckham could come in, drop 200 yards in the first game, and then like go piss off people on an airplane again and get arrested. So
yeah.
I feel like 9 to 10 is fair for sure. I think Lamar could definitely be in the MVP conversation if he gets them to like 11 or 12. Because the team around him still isn't like the best, but they've made some additions. They've added wide receivers. I think Zay Flowers is a great pickup in the draft. Um,
Honestly, the new offensive coordinator is huge too.
yeah,
Having Todd Monken as our offensive coordinator, who's I think they're going to stress less running the ball with Lamar and actually passing, which I think is okay. Like I think Lamar is decent enough as a passer. He's obviously going to take off and run when he needs to, but I think
Yeah,
he'll do better enough
yeah, and they had a
to
great defense last year too. So
yeah.
I'm gonna say 10, but like if they win 12, I'm not like, oh my god, they won 12 games. Like they definitely could.
Yeah. And the biggest thing
You
with
know
this
what?
division, like
Fuck it, give me 12. They're gonna win
12
12 games.
wins?
Yeah, give
All
me
right.
12. I'm talking myself into it.
With this division, they play the NFC West and they play the AFC South. So they like Rams and Cardinals are going to be pretty much fodder for this division, unless the Rams have a better year than we think. And the entire AFC South outside the Jaguars is pretty much a guaranteed win. So
Yeah, I actually I'm talking myself into it. Lamar Jackson is gonna finish third in MVP voting. They're gonna win 12 games. They don't win the division. The over under was 10.5. I'm taking the over. J.K. Dobbins, I think, is gonna have a great year coming back from injury. I just talked myself into it. I'm high on the Ravens this year now.
I'm going to counter with the Browns as being one of the teams that I'm actually a little bit higher on than most. I think now that Kareem Hunt is gone, they're going to rely on Nick Chubb, and he's going to have an explosive year this season. Deshaun Watson, as no matter what you think of his personal life, I agree he's a shithead. He's going to have another year in the overall system to do well. Amari Cooper still there, David
He is
Njoku,
he's
still
ugly
got
as
Miles.
fuck too, by the way. I don't know if you've ever seen Deshaun Watson's like pictures on ESPN. That dude is fucking
Yes,
ugly.
you're right,
He
100%.
like, yeah, he looks like a 45-year-old like just dude that you definitely see at like a strip club
Oh
or
yeah.
like a really gross one.
So for the Browns, I'm going to keep it simple. I think they're going to win one less game than the Ravens. Give me 9-8. They'll be fighting in the playoff spot until that last month, where they actually have an interesting schedule. They play the Bears and Texans, but then they play the Jets and the Bengals. So I think they win two of them, lose two of them. Again, they have some easy games against the Colts, the Cardinals, right? But they also play the 49ers at home. So I don't know. I think the
Yeah, yeah.
Browns are just not good enough to make the playoffs.
Hey, they play this week too, by the way. Shout
On
out
Thursday,
the Hall of Fame game. There is a football game, and the Cleveland Browns will be playing in it. The Browns, I mean, yeah, they've got Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper. They've got Nick Chubb, like you said, no Kareem Hunt. I mean, they were pretty average defense. They were the 20th overall defense last year. Passing wise, they were 22nd. Points for, they were 18th. They have a good rushing team, but draft wise, they didn't have a pick until the third round, so they didn't add much in the draft that's going to be seen this year. Um, they start out with not at, but they host the Bengals. They're at Pittsburgh. They host Tennessee. Uh, they host the Ravens and they host the Niners. So that might be the hardest start to the year that anyone has this year.
yeah.
Because I think they only win one of those games. I,
That's what I'm saying. It's
maybe
like I
two.
think they're not going to be enough to like catch up to make the playoffs. You
Yeah.
know?
But after that, I mean, it lightens up with the Cardinals. But I mean, I think this team wins. I think they finish 7-10 again, like they did last year.
Yeah.
I don't think they beat the Jags. Yeah. I mean, 7 wins seems fair.
We have the defending AFC North
I
champion.
have to. I have to see how far we were off on this one because I have a feeling that I'm way off.
No, I think you're about average. I think 8 is probably the over under.
The over under
I
is
guess
nine and a
9.
half.
Yeah, I guess 9. So you guess
I'm
7.
okay.
Not
I am not high on Cleveland this year. I didn't think it was gonna be that
yeah.
low.
We have the defending AFC North champions, arguably one of the best teams in football, as the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, to be fair, I think this is their division to lose. They have slightly tougher games because they play the Bills and the Chiefs, and they get the Bills at home, which is going to be a great game, but they get the Chiefs on the road, second to last game of the season. Definitely going to have some seeding implications in the AFC. But they also they play the Texans and Colts at home, you know? They play the Vikings at home. They have like the Niners on the road. They play Arizona on the road, woo. But I think for the Bengals as a division to lose, it's going to be close, but give me 12-5 for the Bengals. I think their talent on offense is hard for a lot of teams to match up with.
I agree. I think they win 14 games this year. Um, Give me 14-2 for the Bengals. I think they're going to be probably one of the best teams in the league. I think the only two games they lose, I think they lose home against the Bills, and I think they lose at Kansas City in Week 17. I think those are the only two that I can say that they like have a solid chance at losing. Could they lose to the Niners at
San
San Francisco?
Francisco.
Maybe. Could they lose at the Jags on? I think that's a Sunday night game. maybe, but other than that, I don't think they lose too many games. Could they lose one to the Ravens? Maybe, but I'm taking them 14. I like their draft with Miles Murphy, DJ Turner, and Jordan Battle all in the first 3 rounds. We'll have to see how Joe Burrow's health is with his calf injury in training camp. But if he's good to go for the start of the year, I'm taking 14 wins. I think this is going to be. I think this might be the number one seed in the AFC.
Yeah, I mean, and I wouldn't be surprised because this team is, like I said, they're really good. There's some issues with Joe Mixon's contract, but they got that settled away. They haven't really lost a huge piece. They haven't really gained one either. But this team was good enough last year to make it to the AFC Championship game and lost a close one to the Chiefs. So I think they'll be back.
What was your prediction?
12-5.
Okay, because the over under is 10.5, so I am huge on Cincinnati
Oh,
this year. I think they could like there's not games on there that I think they're like penciled in to lose. Like other than the Bills and the Chiefs, I could see them winning every other game.
but they'll
Uh,
lose a like divisional game or
yeah,
two.
they
They're
will.
not going
So
to
I
go
mean,
undefeated in the AFC North.
12 is fair. I think 14 is like ceiling for this team. I'm gonna go with the ceiling. I think 14 wins is definitely on the table for them. They won 12 games last year, so I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like 14 is not out of the question.
Lastly, but certainly not least, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have their quarterback of the future, Kenny Pickett, who did much better in his last 5 starts or 6 starts of the season than his first four. I think he only threw one interception in his last 5 starts. Much better controlling the ball, which I think is what hurt them in the first part. They have George Pickens. They drafted Joey Porter Jr., who kind of fell to them in the draft. They have Broderick Jones. They have Darnell Washington at tight end, who everyone was craving. I hope the Dolphins would take him, but they didn't. Those teams make good deals in the draft. They obviously have TJ Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick, great defense. I think this team's going to tie the Browns. I think they're going to be 9-8. I think everyone in this division is going to have a winning record. I like the Steelers this year. I don't know if they have enough to make the playoffs. I know they were kind of close last year, but if they win that first game against San Francisco at home, they might have me sold, honestly. But I think the Steelers are always in a winning record situation. Mike Tomlin does not lose or have losing records. He doesn't believe in that as a philosophy. So I think it stays the same and they win 9 games.
Yeah, I actually agree. I think 9 is fair. I'm between like 8 and 10 in that range. They're going to hover
Hmm.
right around 500 the entire year. I think there'll be players in the wild card. I don't think they get in. I think 9 is fair, but in the AFC, I definitely do not think 9 wins is getting you a wild card spot with how deep the AFC is this year.
Yeah.
I guess you're probably going to have to win 10 because what did Miami do last year? They were the 7 seed and they got what? Were they at 9?
They were 9-8.
9. Yeah.
Yep, they were
So
9-8.
I think next year's going to be even better. Everyone in the AFC seems to be adding. I think nine's fair. I'm not sold on Kenny Pickett. I don't know what it is. Maybe I just have like a hatred for Kenny Pickett for some reason. I think is Najee Harris is interesting because like could he come back and rush for 1,700 yards like he did and just be like this absolute force we know Najee Harris could be? Yeah.
Yeah.
Could he blow out his foot in week 2? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know this team offensively seems weird to me because there's a wide range of things that could happen. Could Kenny Pickett come in and throw 4 picks against who do they play week 1? The Niners, right?
Niners, yeah.
Could he throw 4 picks that game? Yeah. Could he come back the next week against the Browns and throw 6 touchdowns? Yeah.
No. 6 is crazy, no, but four, like if he has to be good enough to give them the ball. Like he doesn't have to like win them the game. He just has to give Najee Harris, give George Pickens, give Pat Fryermuth chances to like that's remember they almost beat the Dolphins if it wasn't for Noah Benagani's game winning
Yes,
interception. So this
sir.
team has talent, but and Mike Tomlin's gonna coach them very well, but I don't know. I think they're a year away, in my opinion. They're a year away from challenging for a playoff spot. They're going to get close, but and I know they last year they haven't really gotten worse, but I think just the overall the AFC's gotten better.
Yeah, I think they're still like the third best team. I think they'll do better than the Browns, but I don't know. I'm not completely sold on them yet. I think there's 2 top tier teams in this division, and I think there's two
Yeah.
teams that there's no bottom tier team. I I,
Hmm.
I think this would be probably one of the best divisions all season. I just think the Ravens and the Bengals are just on a tier above the Browns and Pittsburgh. But I mean, even the Browns and Pittsburgh will still be fighting for a playoff spot come week 15, 16.
Yeah, I would take any of those teams over the AFC South.
Absolutely. That's why I think they need to get rid of divisional winners automatically making the playoffs.
Yeah,
Nobody wants to watch the Colts play
the
whoever I guess
Chiefs.
is second place in the division. Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's it for the football preview in the North. Next week, we'll give you either the West or the South. We don't want to do the South, but we're going to have to at some point.
No,
So we'll probably do
we
the West next
we
week.
really don't want to do the South at
Yeah.
all.
Uh, the only major non-football and baseball news we had was from Australia, New Zealand. The United States women's national team in soccer. I don't know if you saw. I definitely did. The game was at 3 in the morning, but they barely made it out of the group stage. Number one ranked team in the world struggled against Portugal. They went to a nil-nil draw, 0-0. They finished second in the group. If they had lost today, they would have been kicked out of the World Cup, and that would have been the earliest ever in history. Do you still think that they can go all the way and win it this season?
The Women's World Cup is on.
Yes, every single commercial I get from ESPN and YouTube ad is about the Women's World Cup. Yes.
Oh. Yeah, go USA. I knew it was on, but like I don't care. It's at 3 in the morning. I'm not staying up to watch it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't agree with some of the things that the U.S. women say.
Hmm.
And that's my personal belief. I am allowed to have my personal beliefs, and I'm not a huge supporter of the United States women's soccer team because of the comments they've made in the past. But you know, you're allowed to have your opinion. I'm allowed to have mine. Um, Kind of embarrassing that they're the best team in the world and they can't win a single game in the group stage. But
No.
for America, I'm rooting for. I don't know. It's nothing for me. I'm really not excited for it at all. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm a bigot, but whatever. I am what I am.
Yeah. I don't think you have a question of the day prepared.
No, but we do
So,
need to talk about another football topic that I thought of when I mentioned the Colts.
oh yeah, go for it.
We do need to mention Jonathan Taylor.
We did.
Jonathan
We did
Taylor has.
last week as well.
Did we?
We did. We did mention it
Oh,
with all the running backs getting held out and him requesting a trade.
I didn't. I don't remember us mentioning that. But yeah, if you didn't hear it, Jonathan Taylor's requested a trade, and Jim Irsay is basically said go fuck yourself. So, uh, great leader right there in Jim Irsay. Basically telling him
Uh,
if you died, no one would care.
yeah, I think Snyder has passed the worst owner in the NFL torch to Jim Irsay now
Yeah, bro. The
because even
fact that
Colts
this
fans hate him, right?
the fact that this man literally said if you died tomorrow, no one would remember. Like holy shit,
Yeah.
dude.
Like if I went away and you died, the world would
Yeah,
still keep on going. It's like what
yeah.
a fucking negative
What
attitude
a
to have over
yeah.
your
What the
player requesting a
fuck?
trade or not paying your best player.
And see, what I don't get is that they won't trade him because they want to get like exuberant value out of him, but
But
they
then they
won't
won't pay him
pay
the
him. But they
value that
won't
he
pay him the
gets.
value that yeah.
Yeah.
So fuck Jim Irsay. I'm on team Jonathan Taylor. I hope he holds out. Um,
Yeah.
what is just an awful comment to make? Like you're the owner of the team. Why are you literally saying if you died, world will go on? Like fuck you. What a shitty thing
Yeah.
to say.
He's gonna be the next owner that everyone's happy
Oh
either
yeah,
passes away or sells the team.
yeah. No, for sure.
Uh, Speaking of ownership and management of franchises, I had a question for you, and I'll answer it as well for myself. So, if you could be the GM, like today, you got hired to be the GM of any of your favorite sports teams, so obviously not college, right? We're talking the Tigers, the Red Wings, we're talking the Pistons, right? The Lions. If there's one move that you're allowed to pull off, it can be a transaction, it can be a uniform change, a new stadium, whatever it is. What would you do as the GM of one of your sports teams?
Oh shit. Does it have to be like if I'm making a move? Does that have to be like a move for this year?
It
Because
has to
like,
be like it can't be in the past, but you can make like a trade for like draft picks if you want.
does it have to be like? Do I have to be reasonable with it, or can I be like, yeah, we trade for fucking Patrick Mahomes?
Slightly realistic, slightly realistic,
Oh
because
shit!
you know the Chiefs would never trade Mahomes.
No,
Like
I
in a real
know.
world, yeah.
You go first. I got to think about this.
So mine is easy. Mine is the easiest one as the Dolphins. I'm bringing back the old uniforms as the permanent uniforms. That's the move I'm making. Let it be the throwback green, the throwback teal, the throwback white uniforms. You can keep the logo the same if you want, but I want the throwback uniforms. They're the best uniforms in football that aren't used enough. Make them the permanent uniforms. Sell out your team store for the first 5 weeks of the season. Easiest move. They don't need to change anything with the team.
I have my decision. It actually came to me pretty quickly.
Go for it.
Going off of current events, I don't know if you saw what came out today, but Dan Campbell had an interview with, I think it was,
It did.
yep, Dan Campbell had an interview with the Barstool guy, with Big Cat, and he said that he wants a lion to be on a real alive lion to be on the sidelines. I'm making that happen. Fuck Roger Goodell. If I'm the GM, I am getting a real live lion and putting him on our sideline. That is my move. I am getting a lion.
So I'm going to ask you for another move because the owner of the Lions actually agreed with Dan Campbell
Yeah.
and wanted to do it, but
Yeah,
the commissioner said
Roger
no.
Goodell,
So,
no, I'm trumping him. I'm trumping
so
Roger Goodell, and I'm
yeah,
getting
you
a
can't trust the
goddamn lion.
commissioner.
He's out.
So
We're
if you,
voting him out.
okay, if you have to do another move as the GM that isn't involving a live animal to the field,
Shit.
it can be with the Pistons. It can be with branding. It can be with the players being traded.
Oh, if it's branding, I'm bringing back the teal jerseys for the Pistons. Oh, they already did bring them back. Shit.
They already did. They brought him back.
Fuck.
What about player move? Any trade you want to do? Any free agent signing? I mean,
I
obviously, like
genuinely,
Otani to the Tigers isn't happening, but
yeah, this is tough. I actually don't know. I guess that's why I'm not a GM.
yeah.
Okay,
I
I'll bring back the logo for the Pistons, the old horse logo. That's probably what I would do.
that's what I would do too. I think the
Yeah.
current Pistons uniforms are whack. No offense.
Yeah, they're
Like the
not.
red and
Bring back,
blue.
yeah, bring back the old jerseys and logo. That's probably what I would do. That was a boring answer. I like the lion one better.
Yeah, yeah. You mean the horse one? Oh, like you mean bringing the
Yeah,
line
yeah.
onto the
Bring
field?
bring the lion on the field. I think is a better idea. But I'll
Yeah, this
settle for
isn't
changing.
college. That's the line.
Wait,
Yeah,
oh
it
shit!
might
Wait,
be some legal issues.
if it was Auburn, could I just pay Cam Newton to revert back to his 2010 form and play for us next year?
No
Is that an
college.
option? Oh, okay,
No
shit.
college. No, it's gotta be a professional organization.
I'm
So.
paying Tom Brady to come back to Michigan to lead them back to a national championship.
You could also said if you want to. Well, I guess the Lions' home field is nice. Ford Field is nice. I'm about to say change stadiums, but Detroit actually has decent stadiums. So is Comerica
Yeah, they
Park for the
do.
Tigers.
Comerica is like one of
Yeah,
the most underrated parks I think in the country.
I think
Comerica's
Comerica and
nice.
Target Field, Target Center, wherever the
Target
Twins
Field's
play,
nice.
Target
Yeah,
Field. Yeah, I think those are really good. The Yale Central has great divisions. Their teams just suck.
exactly.
Yeah, the Kauffman Stadium for the Royals is great. So
Yeah, the fountain is super cool. I think
yeah,
the Guardian Stadium sucks, but other than that, everything else is pretty cool.
yeah, the Guardians one is pretty trash.
And that's what we should have done in the dog days of summer: is rank all of the baseball stadiums.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe we can still do it. Maybe.
Yeah, it'll be the end of
Um,
the season.
yeah. I think that's it for this episode of the 31305 podcast. We will likely not have one next week as I will not be personally available to record next week. I got too much going on.
Honestly, yeah,
But
we're not missing much. The only thing we'll miss is the Hall of Fame Jets versus Brown. Was it the Browns? Yeah,
yeah, and
because
they're starting
they're not
Zach
playing.
Wilson
Yeah,
and
they already
yeah,
said they're
it's
not
fine.
playing starters, so we won't be missing much in the next 2 weeks. So the next
Yeah,
three
no more
weeks.
trades for baseball. But we'll get you, don't worry, that AFC South, NFC South preview will come soon enough.
Oh, are we gonna have everything out by the time?
Yeah, before the season
Yeah,
starts,
we
yeah.
should. Yeah,
There's only two divisions and there's 5 weeks of football, so
yeah,
we're
we're
good.
good.
Yeah, we're good. There's four
Yeah,
weeks of the
well,
draft. Better get your mock draft going.
everybody wants to hear the breakdown of the AFC and NFC South. We should have done that one first because that's what everyone
Nah,
wanted.
we gotta reel them in. We gotta reel them at the
Yeah,
East.
that's what everyone wanted.
So until you hear us next time on YouTube or Spotify, of course, check out the Instagram page.
Which we don't
Uh,
post on anymore, so that's probably my
yeah,
fault. But we'll get
wherever
better.
you find us and listen to us, of course, we hope to hear you. We hope to have you hear from us again and see us again on the YouTube page. And we'll catch you next
This
time.
is a really bad outro, bro. Cut it.
And